Alright, so this is the Toyota Sienna. In a previous video, at least I think I started a previous video of it, I'm replacing the ignition coils and the spark plugs. This is the 3.3. The year is 2004. So I have to replace the wiring harness as well on the ignition coils. You buy these from AutoZone or any of the local parts stores should have them. The AutoZone part number for these is 645940. They're like $16.99 or something each. So I've replaced these, and then I'm starting on taking the intake off. I actually started taking the intake off previously just because I knew it was going to be a pain in the butt to get it out of there. You have 13 millimeter nuts on either corner. I have an ant crawling around here. You have 8 mil Allens that hold down the majority of the intake. They're M8 by 125 or 1.5, so I'm not entirely sure. Makes for a good bolt holder. These are 10 millimeter. The nuts that hold this evap purge solenoid and fuel pressure regulator down is 10 millimeter. There's two of those. One goes here, the other one is here. It's hidden away under this hose that goes to the middle section of the throttle body. There is a bracket on the back side of the throttle body. It has to come off. It's probably easier to take the throttle body completely off of there, or both throttle bodies. This one I took it off and just left it sitting there because these hoses are kind of brittle, so I don't want to run the chance of breaking them. This vacuum line here runs back over to the brake booster. You can pull it out of the brake booster if you wanted to, but you're probably going to end up breaking the fitting that goes into the brake booster itself. You can also try to pull it off from here, but you run a chance of breaking the hose. If it breaks, just replace it. They're not super expensive. You can get these molded lines for, I don't really know exactly how much they are, but I know that they're not super expensive. These are 12 millimeters. You have 3 bolts and I believe 2 nuts. You have a nut up here on top. Maybe there's 4 bolts and 1 nut. I don't really know yet. I can't see the bottom side of the inner portion of the intake. There's a bracket back here on this back side. It's a 14 millimeter bolt. That was this guy. The one that's back here, we're already taking it loose, so the intake will move around right now. I think that bolt is inside the van. It's a 13 millimeter or a 12. I think it's a 12. But I'm fairly certain I'm ready to come off of this. Taking these bolts right here out will make this a lot easier getting this intake out of there and putting it back in. I don't know if I have the proper inverted torch for that, but I think it's E6. I don't know, I'm going to work on one thing at a time right now and get all these bolts out. Make this a little bit quicker and put it on an electric ratchet. Well, not with that one, I'm not. So the center one, if you have an extension, you can use an electric ratchet, but I don't want to get close to that window because when I go to pull off of the bolt or the extension, my ratchet is extremely close to this edge, and this is tempered glass, so I think it's tempered, maybe laminated. Looks like it may be laminated. And I want to hit the edge of it and bust it. me just make sure that I have everything loose. I think I may have another bracket right back here. And that one out. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. That way it's out of the way. I don't have to worry about running into it anymore or it being in the way of taking anything else off. Alright, so y'all might see a good bit of pausing in between these removals. It's because I'm only really using one hand. My hand that is holding the camera is a little foobarred, and I'm not left-handed by any means. So I've gotten this off. These are 12 millimeter. You have 4 12 millimeter bolts and 1 12 millimeter nut. Just move that out of the way. You have a vacuum line there. And I don't know if y'all can see under there or not. Oh, it's focusing on my hand. Let's see. Turn the flashlight on maybe. There's a bar right there. That has to be removed as well. So you have 3 bars on the back side of there that have to be removed in order to take the intake off. I've gotten everything else loose here. There is a ground strap on the end of this. Just pick it up, worm it under the vacuum line, or take it off, either one. Make sure to get that bolt out, or nut, whichever it may be. I'm pretty sure it's a bolt. And you should be able to pull up the front side here over the studs and pull the whole intake towards the front of the vehicle. If you can't, you take those inverted Torx studs out on either end, and that'll give you a little bit more wiggle room, so you don't have to raise this side up 2 inches to be able to get over the studs. I may end up doing that if I can find the inverted Torx. Alright, so I did get that bolt off on the back side finally. It is a 12 millimeter, so you got 14 millimeter on this bracket, 12 millimeter on this bracket, and 12 millimeter on that bracket. That mounts to the side of here. These do have to come out. There is no way around pulling these up and having enough space. So this inverted Torx is an E8. At least this is the one that I have on there. Yeah, it's tight, so go ahead and get these out. These really should be bolts. I may end up converting them over just to keep from having to do this again, if I ever have to do this job again on this specific van. Now that one's a little tricky to get into. You got to go between the cap and the intake. Let's see if I can get it from this back way. It doesn't really offer much more room. Ugh. What in the world? That's gross. It's like somebody might have put sawdust inside of there. If you're potentially looking at this video for pricing, this job is about $600, and that is me doing it for a friend price. So if you're, maybe going to a dealership, you're probably going to pay about 3 times that. And it's very understandable, more especially after having to take off all of this, the wiper arms. It's got two panels here, one that goes on the top side and then one goes below. And then the now 45 minutes to an hour of taking this intake off. And that's not counting any of the wiring. Alright, so that should be good and ready to come out. We'll go ahead and pull this vacuum line off here since that's connected to this bracket. And I'm gonna come up slightly, get over the fuel lines and the fuel rail. And she's out. Inspect your gaskets. No, I didn't say inspect their gadget. These look like they need to be replaced. I may end up just replacing them. Of course, after talking to him. I didn't pull a vacuum line off from there. Oh, that's because it's still mounted back here. Make sure to take that off. You can access it from the top side with it still being mounted on. I did see it back there, but didn't take it off. Your back sparky plugs and ignition coils are literally up against the firewall. So it's going to be a little bit hectic getting back here and changing wiring harnesses and stuff out. These clips are notorious for breaking, and if they are broken, don't be lazy and just put it back on. Go ahead and fix it. All you do is match up the gray wires, all of them are gray, with their corresponding locations here. Make sure you use red shrink connectors too. Thanks for watching.